Linda thought she was losing her mind. One day her father would seem sharp as ever, the next he couldn't remember how to use the coffee maker he'd had for years. The inconsistency was maddening. If it was dementia, shouldn't he be confused all the time? That's when Linda learned about vascular dementia, where cognitive abilities don't fade gradually like Alzheimer's. They drop suddenly after each mini-stroke, creating the confusing pattern that had her questioning her own observations. If you're watching someone who seems fine one day and confused the next after strokes or heart problems, stay with me. Today I'm sharing what Linda wished she'd known about vascular dementia, the type that hides behind normal stroke recovery. Linda's father had 3 small strokes over 6 months. Each time, doctors focused on his physical recovery. His speech came back, his movement improved, and they declared him lucky to have bounced back so well. But Linda noticed something everyone else missed. After each stroke, his thinking got a little cloudier. Unlike Alzheimer's disease, which progresses gradually and predictably, vascular dementia happens in steps. Each time blood flow to the brain gets interrupted, whether through a major stroke, mini-strokes, or even silent strokes you don't notice, brain cells die in specific areas. The result is sudden drops in cognitive function followed by periods of stability. Linda's father would have weeks where he seemed completely normal, then suddenly struggle with tasks he'd mastered his entire life. He couldn't balance his checkbook anymore, got confused following directions, and started making poor decisions about money. But his long-term memory remained sharp, which confused everyone. Here's what makes vascular dementia unique. It often affects executive function first, not memory. Executive function controls planning, decision-making, and problem-solving. So Linda's father could tell detailed stories from his childhood, but couldn't figure out how to pay bills online. The damage depends entirely on which parts of the brain lost blood flow. Some people lose language skills, others struggle with movement, and some lose the ability to plan or organize. It's like having a computer where specific programs stop working while others run perfectly. This unpredictable pattern is why vascular dementia gets missed so often. Families think they're seeing good days and bad days, but what they're really seeing is the aftermath of brain damage that happens suddenly, not gradually. Linda spent months thinking her father might have Alzheimer's disease because that's the only dementia most people know about. But the progression was all wrong. Alzheimer's typically starts with memory problems and progresses steadily. Her father's memory was fine, but his judgment was terrible. Here's how vascular dementia differs from other types. Alzheimer's usually begins after age 70, with gradual memory loss that gets progressively worse. Vascular dementia can start earlier, especially if someone has cardiovascular risk factors, and progresses in sudden steps rather than a steady decline. Frontotemporal dementia, like we discussed in my previous video, attacks personality and behavior first in people between 45-65. Vascular dementia can happen at any age where cardiovascular events occur, but typically affects executive function and decision-making before personality changes. The tricky part is that many people have mixed dementia, vascular damage combined with Alzheimer's disease or other types. Linda's father's neurologist eventually discovered he had both vascular changes from his strokes and early signs of Alzheimer's. This combination is actually more common than pure vascular dementia. Risk factors for vascular dementia are the same as those for stroke: high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, smoking, and heart disease. The key difference is that vascular dementia is often preventable through cardiovascular health management, while other dementias have stronger genetic components. Understanding these differences helped Linda realize why traditional dementia resources didn't match her father's experience. Vascular dementia requires different strategies because the cognitive pattern is different from other types. Looking back, Linda realizes the warning signs were there long before she recognized them as dementia. Her father's first small stroke seemed like no big deal. He recovered quickly and seemed fine. But subtle changes started immediately that everyone attributed to normal recovery. The first sign was poor judgment. Linda's father, who had been financially savvy his entire life, started making questionable decisions. He bought expensive items he didn't need, forgot to pay bills, and couldn't understand why his bank account wasn't balancing. When Linda offered to help, he insisted he was fine. Executive function problems showed up in daily activities. He'd start projects and abandon them halfway through, leaving tools scattered around the house. Following multi-step directions became impossible. He could handle take your medication, but couldn't manage take your blood pressure medication with food, then check your blood sugar an hour later. Physical changes accompanied the cognitive ones, which is typical for vascular dementia. His gait became unsteady, not from weakness, but from difficulty planning movement sequences. He'd walk normally on straight paths, but struggle navigating around furniture or changing direction. Before we continue with the remaining warning signs, if this information is helping you recognize patterns in someone you love, please hit that subscribe button. Linda wishes she'd had this information earlier in her father's journey, and your support helps other families find these resources when they need them most. Linda also noticed emotional changes that seemed out of character. Her normally optimistic father became easily frustrated and would have emotional outbursts over minor inconveniences. He'd cry during commercials or become angry about situations he couldn't control. These weren't personality changes like you see in frontotemporal dementia. They were reactions to his growing confusion about his own declining abilities. The most telling sign was the inconsistency. Linda would visit on Tuesday and find her father sharp and engaged, then return on Thursday to find him confused and disoriented. This roller coaster pattern is classic for vascular dementia because brain function depends on which areas are affected and how well the remaining healthy tissue can compensate. Linda spent 2 years fighting to get her father properly evaluated for cognitive changes. The problem wasn't that doctors didn't care. It's that the medical system treats strokes and dementia as separate issues, often missing the connection between them. After her father's first stroke, the medical team celebrated his physical recovery. He regained speech, movement returned to normal, and his basic cognitive testing looked fine. When Linda mentioned concerns about his judgment and decision-making, she was told these were normal effects of aging and adjustment to having a stroke. The focus on physical rehabilitation meant cognitive changes got minimized or ignored. Linda learned that standard cognitive tests given in hospitals are designed to detect severe impairment, not the subtle executive function problems that characterize early vascular dementia. Her father could remember 3 words and draw a clock, so he passed his cognitive screening. Linda's persistence eventually paid off when she insisted on seeing a neuropsychologist for comprehensive testing. This detailed evaluation revealed significant problems with planning, abstract thinking, and decision-making that the simple bedside tests had missed completely. The delay in diagnosis meant missed opportunities for prevention. If Linda had understood that each small stroke increased dementia risk, she might have been more aggressive about her father's blood pressure management, diabetes control, and medication compliance. Instead, 2 years of additional vascular damage occurred while cognitive changes were dismissed as normal. Healthcare providers often focus on preventing future strokes without addressing the cognitive consequences of strokes that already happened. Linda wishes someone had explained that stroke recovery includes cognitive rehabilitation, not just physical therapy. Based on Linda's experience and what I've learned from other families dealing with vascular dementia, here are the essential steps that can make a real difference in your journey. First, ask specific questions after any cardiovascular event. Don't just ask, "How's the recovery going?" Ask your doctor, "What cognitive testing should we do to establish a baseline, and how will we monitor for vascular dementia as a complication?" Linda learned these questions too late, but they're crucial for early detection. Second, understand that vascular dementia prevention is cardiovascular health management. Unlike other dementias where prevention strategies are limited, vascular dementia is largely preventable through aggressive management of blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, and heart rhythm problems. Every small stroke prevented is brain tissue preserved. Third, adapt your caregiving approach to the stepwise pattern. Unlike Alzheimer's, where abilities decline gradually, vascular dementia creates sudden changes followed by plateaus. Linda learned to reassess her father's capabilities after each cardiovascular event rather than assuming steady decline. Fourth, advocate for comprehensive neuropsychological testing, not just bedside cognitive screens. Linda's father passed simple tests for 2 years while struggling with complex decision-making. Detailed testing revealed problems that basic screening missed completely. Fifth, address cardiovascular risk factors aggressively even after dementia diagnosis. Linda's father's progression slowed significantly once his blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol were optimally controlled. Preventing future vascular events can prevent further cognitive decline. Linda also learned the importance of involving the entire medical team. Cardiologists, neurologists, and primary care doctors need to communicate about cognitive concerns, not just focus on their individual specialties. She became the coordinator of her father's care, ensuring everyone understood the cognitive complications of his cardiovascular disease. Finally, connect with resources that understand vascular dementia specifically. General dementia support groups often focus on Alzheimer's disease, which progresses differently. Linda found the most help from stroke survivor support groups that addressed cognitive complications, not just physical recovery. Linda's father is still living with vascular dementia 3 years after his first stroke. His condition has stabilized since his cardiovascular health was optimized, proving that aggressive prevention can slow progression even after diagnosis. Some days are harder than others, but understanding the nature of his condition helped Linda adjust her expectations and find effective strategies. I've put together additional vascular dementia resources in the description below, including questions to ask your doctor and cardiovascular health checklists that could prevent future cognitive decline. What resonates most with your experience? Are you seeing the stepwise pattern Linda described, or struggling to get cognitive concerns taken seriously after strokes? Share your story in the comments. Your experience helps other families recognize what they're dealing with. If this video helped you understand vascular dementia or connect the dots between cardiovascular events and cognitive changes, please subscribe for more practical dementia information from someone who understands this journey. For more information about recognizing different types of dementia, watch this video next. And if you want to learn about preventing cognitive decline through cardiovascular health, this video covers the strategies that work. I'll see you there. Remember, vascular dementia is often preventable, and even after diagnosis, proper management can slow progression.